welcome. This is Will at Work. I'm Kevin. Today we have the Atari VCS video computer system. This is the new one. Just came out to the public rather than say Kickstart backers or whatever, Indiegogo or whatever it was they originally did. Picked this up at Best Buy. It's well, you know, a little background, I think, first. Atari, you know, originally released the 2600, but that was actually called the video computer system, VCS, the Atari VCS, but everybody called it the 2600. And so these guys, you know, said, hey, you know, we could reuse the name Atari VCS, and we have this system. Now, this Atari is not the original Atari company that once existed long ago. Atari, you know, at one time was a really big company. I think it was owned by Warner or something. But they were, you know, they were a large company. They did other things other than game consoles. You know, they did arcade machines as well as computers, and then, you know, home consoles. And they dabbled in some other things here and there too. But Atari ultimately, at some point, had split into two halves. Both were Atari, right? But they were two different companies. One was, you know, Atari Games, basically, and owned the home console video game market. And then the other one was like Atari arcade games stuff. And or something along those lines. Like maybe Atari Computer was different than Atari Arcade and Atari Computer Home System, but whatever. So the name Atari was owned by two different groups. I know the one that did the video games after the Atari Jaguar era. They had merged with another company and had dropped the Atari name, but still owned it. And I am not sure. I think that was the computer side of the company, whereas the gaming side, the arcade games and such, I think was eventually sold to like Infogrames, who eventually rebranded themselves as Atari and were releasing games for the PC sometime around like the mid-2000s, etc. They were trying to like sell some revamped games that they had done, Battlezone or Pong even, Pong the Next Level, stuff like that. And from there, I don't really know what happened to the brand. I don't know if this company owns the rights to one, both, none. You know, I think they own at least one, but I don't know if there is still two Ataris in existence, at least legally, or if there's just one. But this is the one that is currently selling a game system. And so we have here a really what this is, from what everything I've understood, is that we have a PC in a stylized case reflecting the original Atari console design, and you can use any kind of controllers with it, basically, you know, that work with Bluetooth. But they, with this particular set, you know, they gave you the kind of standard one-button joystick as well as a gamepad that's kind of like an Xbox gamepad type of thing. Now, you can install Windows on this as well as use their built-in Atari operating system, and so you can use it as a mini computer if you have a copy of Windows 10, I guess, and you want to I don't know, put it on a USB stick and then install it on this thing, and then have Windows on there. I don't think it's going to be an amazing performance system, but you know, if you don't have a gaming system for Steam and stuff to play a few games, you know, not like most games. I mean, if you look at things like Fortnite, Minecraft, and all that stuff, most games that come out nowadays don't really use that much graphical power anyway. You know, if there's the top end games do, obviously, but so the rest of them are just kind of, happy with sort of an average performance because, most gamers have average machines. And so you want to get the most people to buy your game and all that sort of stuff. So you cater to the lowest common denominator while at the same time still providing, the right amount of graphic fidelity. And this might not be that bad for that. However, I haven't tried it. I don't know. So we're going to open this. I'm going to set it up and get all the patches and everything, and then we'll take a quick look at it. It is sealed. It does have the receipt on the box. The thing is like, I've kind of made a sort of a mental shift in a little bit of this because, like, if you're a collector of systems, right, some stuff is going to be, people are going to be like, new, never opened. But what really how do you really know? I mean, you could dust it for fingerprints, right? Or see if it's ever been turned on. But, I mean, really, what you have is these little stickers, right? Like this thing here. You can buy a sticker just like this, off Amazon or anywhere else, and you could open it up, steam it off, and then put it back on at some point and tell people, oh, it's never been opened. But, how do you know? It doesn't really matter if it's been opened or not. It really comes down to what's the condition that it's in, and maybe like with something like this, the very first release, like before you plug it in or something, it might be like, say, version 1.0 firmware or whatever, right? So yeah, if you were going to mod it or something, you might need it to be at a certain version. Not that it would apply to this, but maybe something like, say, the Switch or something. And, so maybe you would want it to be not used because of that. But other than that, if, it's almost like you want somebody to open up the system and show you that it works, rather than just telling me that, hey, I've never opened this up. Might be a pile of junk inside. Could be bricks. We don't know. However, there are going to be situations where you'll totally destroy the box and the packaging in order to get a system out. And in those cases, I side on, like, if I'm not going to play it or I have no interest in playing it, then I'll keep it in the box. Like, if the box is more of a display piece with the unit, we'll keep it in the box. But in this case, we're going to open this up and we're going to check out at least their setup, their interface, what they have, and yeah, just talk about it a little bit, see how it plays. And of course, the whole purpose of this show is to make sure that it works. Okay, so probably when I first plug this thing in, it's going to download a bunch of updates and patches and things. So yeah, might take me a while, but you won't notice because I'm just going to switch over to the video side and we'll look at it together. Here we go. So this is the Atari VCS main menu. It's been a few days actually since I filmed the beginning of the video to where we are now. One thing I wanted to try to do was I said to myself, the selection of games is really weak, and we're going to look at that here. And so, checking on the whole will it work concept, I decided, well, they say this thing can be turned into a full-fledged Windows computer. Why don't I go ahead and try to put that together? So I looked at, some instructions online, and essentially you could open this unit up and you can insert an M2 SSD stick and then install Windows on it. Well, no, you can't. I did get an M2 SSD stick. I opened it up. I put it inside. You then have to prepare a USB installation tool with Windows so that you can do it. But unfortunately, the BIOS on this unit is locked down, and you cannot install Windows from the USB stick to the internal SSD at all. So they say, oh, you can install Linux and these other things, but it's a game system, right? And you're not going to be playing a whole lot of games on Linux. Yes, I know there's ways of doing it if you want to fuddle around and do all that. But if you just want to launch Steam on this thing, etc., not that easy. Now, what you can do, if you want to take it to the nth degree, is you could install Windows on a USB SSD stick and then use the SSD stick. And I believe you can even take the SSD stick out of the USB, put it back inside the Atari and use it that way. Though, from what I understand, if you do that, which I have not done, basically that makes it so it won't ever boot up into this menu unless you disable it through the BIOS when you're booting it up. So that also takes away a lot of the rather plug and play ability of this thing. You know what I mean? Like, you just want to kind of turn it on, and if I was in this mode, great, playing some Atari stuff. And if I was in, like, say, big picture mode on Steam on the other side, awesome, that would be kind of cool too. That didn't materialize. So that pretty much sucks. And yes, you could tinker with it forever to get it to work, but you know, they locked the BIOS down, so that was dumb. I don't know, like, don't advertise things like, you know, unless it's like it's easy, you know, because it's like it's completely, you know, you're going to spend a whole day farting around with this thing and you have to buy all this extra stuff to make it work. Now, for their credit, you can expand the RAM from like 4 gigabyte to 8 gigabyte or 16 gigabyte or something like that. Maybe 32 gigabyte. I think it's 16 gigabyte. And yeah, but you have to have like SODIMM chips to do that. And then you can add the SSD. But from all intents and purposes, it looks like performance is pretty lackluster anyway. Now, you're not going to necessarily have to play. You can't be expected on a little form factor thing like this to be playing like not Call of Duty, well, the latest Call of Duty. So, you know, the latest games, like, you know, with all that high-end graphic stuff. But there's, you know, I would say 95% of everything that's on Steam could probably be played with a low-spec machine in general, because it's either really old or it was designed to be, you know, be the most mainstream platform. So, yeah, I mean, you could turn this into a Steam machine if you wanted to, but not a good one. And I'm just a little bit miffed that the installation wasn't as simple as it was sort of stated in the instructions. It just does not work the way it works. So, no Windows, but you can. If you want to spend a whole day on it, Linux, you can. If you want to mess with Linux at all, we just get a Raspberry Pi. It's way cheaper than this thing. It's like $400 for this thing. Raspberry Pi is like, you know, what, $35 or something, $50. If you want to get the one with the 4 megs or you know, gigs of RAM or whatever the heck it is. So, yeah. Anyway, we're in the main screen here. So, we have Atari VCS Vault, and that comes with the machine, as does this Atari VCS Companion, Chrome, and the AntStream Arcade, which is a subscription service that you have to pay for. Atari VCS Vault 2 I paid for, and that costs $5. Now, before we look at the games and stuff, why don't we look at the store? Because what you're really probably wondering to yourself is, what games are available for this system, and how much do they cost? That's what I would want to know. So let's look at all games, right? And we've got things like Pixel Cup Soccer and Tail Gunner and Mad Age and this guy, and things like Gun Tech. Gun Tech, $20, right? This $4, okay, decent price. $5, maybe. $10 for Pixel Cup Soccer? Nah, not really. You got a prologue here, which is like a preview. It's free, right? Missile Command Recharge for $4. That's okay. Spearmaster, $10. Nah. Mutazione, $20. No. Thrustlander, $15. No. Why do I say this? Like, hey, man, you can go out and buy games that are like $60, $70. Here, they're only like $15, $20. It's a deal. It's not. It's not a deal. Because most of these games are like, they're just like Android titles or things that you find on Steam sales that you're going to get for like, you know, $5 or something. And so why am I going to pay $20 for something that I can't even try? There's no demo mode here, right? Am I going to even enjoy some of this stuff? Is it worth it? Is Super Smash worth $20? Now, when you go in to look at one of these things,
you know, you can see some screenshots, and you know, it kind of looks like you're going into some sort of platform game, and it'll give you a little bit more information about it, etc. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's worth $20. Boulder Dash Deluxe. I mean, it's Boulder Dash, right? So I don't think so. So anyway, and if we click on load more, and this is currently July of 2021, right? And all the games, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, like 20 games. Air console doesn't really count. 21, 22, 23, 24. There's 25 games. And like D-Generation's been around for like 30 years or something. It doesn't need to be $13. I appreciate that there was some work that goes into porting these things and getting licenses and everything, but it just seems like that these prices are too high for a lot of what this stuff is. You know, $5, fine. You know, but I feel like, yeah, I mean, how do I know this is going to be any good? So maybe for $5, probably not. Maybe for $5 or something. Let's look at like a $20 game. Do we even get a video? No. It's talking to a goat. And it might be great. This might be a great game. I don't got a lot to go on. With this. So not that impressed by it. And that's all the games, right? So now there's some apps. You can do PC mode, which is it just launches your system into a certain mode or something. I don't know. And then it's not PC mode. You can just boot off of the USB sticks. Like, I don't know what PC mode's supposed to do for me. Okay, so now in terms of the Vault, the initial Vault, they give you about 100 games, and I'll show you what you get. So you get arcades. All these are arcade games. These are from, you know, arcade emulated games. So Space Duel, Sprint 2, Super Breakout, Tempest, Warlords, Asteroids Deluxe, Black Widow, Centipede, Crystal Castles, Gravatar, Liberator, Lunar Lander, Major Havoc, Millipede, and we're back to Missile Command, and Pong, and Red Baron, and back to Space Duel. So that's all the arcade games. Then you can flip over to the 2600 games, and basically what you're getting in the 2600 are a bunch of first-party 2600 games, a lot of which are, especially the earlier ones that were like sports and, you know, these sort of, like when they were first trying to figure out what they wanted to do with 2600. Like, here's a bunch of basic games, right? Combat, they give you Combat 2, Crystal Castles, all right, Demons to Diamonds, Desert Falcon, Dodge 'em, Double Dunk, Fatal Run, Flag Capture, Football. But I think all of this is stuff you're finding in like the flashback systems, right? Haunted House, which is there are a lot. The flashback systems, especially a used one, man, going to be tons cheaper than this system. Quad run, race, radar lock, baseball, basketball, boxing, football, tennis, etc. So to me, this isn't really all that interesting. And that's what you get in that first pack that kind of comes with the system. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're nostalgic about playing some old 2600 titles that you remember when you were young and you like some of those games, you know, that might be worth it for you, but I just know that there's less expensive avenues to find those. Now, the Vault 2, on the other hand, I'm a little bit more interested in because I'll show you why. So again, we have a series of arcade games. We have Atari Baseball, Basketball, Football, Soccer, Avalanche, Canyon Bomber, Destroyer, Dominoes, Fire Truck, Maze Invaders, Monte Carlo, Pool Shark, Sky Diver, Superbug. So nothing great. But if we go to the 2600 stuff, we've got Adventure 2, Air Raiders, Aqua Venture, Armor Ambush, Astro Blast, Dark Cavern, Frog Pond, Frogs and Flies, Holy Moly, International Soccer, Moto Rodeo, Saboteur, Sea Battle, Space Attack, Star Strike, Super Challenge Baseball, Super Challenge Football, Sword Fight, Wizard, and Yar's Return. A little bit better since they got some of those M Network games in there, but still we don't see like a lot of the third-party stuff like Activision and stuff. You get the M Network games, but there's a lot of stuff that they could license that, you know, isn't yet here. And if they're going to bring them in or not, who knows? Probably they'd like to, but it's also one of those things like maybe Activision has some exclusivities with the flashback people or something, who knows? But now, what's kind of more interesting about this pack is that they emulate the 5200, and again, on the PC, or if you're a big, you know, emulator guy, 5200 is not probably a big deal for you to find. But in terms of like, you know, we've looked at a lot of clone systems in this series, and none of them are really emulating the Atari 5200. It's kind of a more obscure system when it comes to emulation, and it wasn't ever sold as like a joystick or a home set. It's not in any of the flashbacks that I'm aware of. So it's kind of neat, at least, that you get some of the 5200 titles in this pack. Because, you know, they're actually not too bad. I mean, they're like the 5200 was kind of a weird system in that it had some pretty good display capabilities. It wasn't yet on order of like the NES or the 7800 or anything like that, but it did some unique things, and so it allowed it to make a big improvement over the 2600 in terms of a lot of the graphics. And for some of these more simple 8-bit games, that was pretty much all you needed. So Centipede, Countermeasure, Final Legacy, Micro Gammon, Millipede, Miniature Golf, Missile Command, Baseball, Basketball, Football, Soccer, Tennis, Star Raiders, Super Breakout, Zari Arena, Asteroid, Centipede, Countermeasure. Yeah, we looked at all that. So Not a lot, but some, right? So, like, let's look at some, you know, let's look at a 2600 version of Armor Ambush. Let's just see how long it takes to load. Right. Oh, shit. There you go, Maz. I'm driving right into the water. Nothing. What's this up here? Alright. So that's pretty horrible. Okay, so that's Armor Ambush, and then let's look at look at the arcade football of the time, of the era. Now I remember this game in the arcade, and you see those buttons and everything on the side, and then what you had was a big roller ball. It was like a giant trackball that was at the bottom, and you would hit that to run. So you sort of picked your play, and then you would kind of yeah. Yeah, but anyway, I guess I'm in two-player mode here. Anyway, that's black and white, and that's really what it looked like. Now let's look at the 5200 version of football and see if it looked any better. Or at least a multicolor. X. Some fake audience noise. Pick my play. Oh, it's intercepted. What the F? Get him. No, he's going to score a touchdown. Boo. All right. So seriously, it's like 2021. No one really wants to play that. I don't believe it for a minute. Like, it's absolute trash. Yeah. So, are you guys missing out? Do you wish you had this or an Xbox, a new Xbox Series S? What do you think? You got a choice of 20 games that are overpriced, some Atari VCS stuff, and then you can pay for a streaming service to stream games that you could do on probably any other device that you own. You can do the web browser, etc. So, Atari VCS, not really worth it. Not worth it. Not worth it. I mean, you always want to root for the little guy. You like the ideas that they have. Hey, you can turn it into a full-fledged PC, but not really, or not really easily. Hey, you got all these games you can play, but none of the good ones that you really want to play. And hey, we got a store full of games, but not really. They're all overpriced, etc. And yeah, I mean, it's like it doesn't bode well. I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna. It's one of these systems that you're gonna just like you buy, you fud around with it for a little while, you shove it under the TV, and you never turn it on again because you can just play games on your more modern game console. There's nothing here that's that approachable that you're going to play with the family. And if you want to like have nostalgia of playing 2600 games, you could just have bought a flashback system for a lot less. So this system needs a lot more to it. Exclusive titles would probably be good. Probably having some RPGs would probably be good because at least people could sink some time into it. And it just needs like better support in a lot of ways. Now, for its positives, I mean, it does work, right? It does have a menu system. It is, built out. It does have a store, and everything is working from day one. It applies updates. It's got a nice design. Controls aren't too bad. It supports the keyboard. It's got 4 USB 3.0 ports on it. You can turn it into a full Linux computer or something. It's not terribly underpowered for what it is, and it's okay. Thing is I understand they can't afford to take a loss on the hardware. They're a young company. They don't have a lot of money. But this is the kind of thing where if this was selling for $200, it would be all right because you'd be like, well, it was $200, and it's a PC as well as it comes with controllers and everything for $2. That seems fair. But for $300 with the base unit or $400 with the additional controls plus tax and all that sort of stuff, it's just not worth it. It's not, and that's unfortunate. Now, first adopter stuff, maybe the price will come down, but it's also one of those things where nothing. We've seen this with these other Ouya's and things where it's just going to stagnate, right? Razer TV, Forge TV, whatever, and then it's just going to eventually the company's just going to run out of cash. They're going to burn out their cash, and it'll go away. Hopefully they get enough money from initial sales and curiosity and people that want, want to go out and buy these things that maybe they can turn it around or do something better with it in terms of the engineering to make it so maybe Windows is installed easier on it, or you end up with a nicer selection of games and things with decent pricing and maybe some demos and things that you can find out if you really want to play the game, etc. But early days, I get it, but it still feels like this isn't anything more than say like an Amazon Fire TV, right? Like you can play some games on the Fire TV or whatever, and stream some apps and use a browser, and buy stuff from the App Store, etc. But this costs 5 times as much. It's just not worth it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Atari VCS, it's a keeper. It obviously works. It's going in the collection. I'll probably get PC mode to work on it at some point, but I'm not going to revisit it in a video. I mean, we get the idea. Thanks for watching, though. And, yep, we'll see you on the next one. Later.